kind of been seeing some things in our chat on Facebook, as well as some stuff in the media. But before we go into that, y'all remember last time we were on live, I had to kind of try to wrap it up pretty soon because I had a date and stuff, right? The date was fine. The guy was nice. We still keep in touch. We'll see what happens. Okay. I've since then had a subsequent date today, and no fireworks at all.
Yeah.
Like,
is this the same person or somebody else?
Different person. Different person.
We just keep sifting through. Yeah.
No fireworks. Frankly, I would. Yeah, man. Yeah, for real, Dewayne. For real. I honestly was looking at the clock and trying not to look at check the time on my phone too frequently because I was waiting for it to be. We had a block of time that we said we were going to see each other for. And I was like, come on, 7 p.m. Come on. Yeah, it was that.
That's my sorry.
I'm saying all that to say this. Anybody else got any not so great date stories they want to share?
Oh. Not so great date.
Yeah.
This was, oh gosh, like 6 years ago or something.
Uh-huh.
This guy invited me to dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And the conversation, all that was decent. And all of a sudden he started acting like something was wrong. And toward the end, and mind you, he was like sugar daddy status. So we shouldn't have these problems at this age.
As was today.
Okay. So he's like acting like he's like really nervous, like something ain't right. And the conversation kind of slows down. We're getting ready to get done. And he was like, he basically asked me, I forgot how he did, but he asked me to handle the tab and I'll pay you back.
Did I see it coming? I'm checking out. I think I saw that coming. I heard, Who said,
That'd be me.
Come on, Bri-guy, what you got?
No, I mean, dating's getting complicated these days. It's getting very because as a man who is single, and I have a date here and there when I kind of have the time and the interest, but chivalry is like not really appreciated anymore like that. Not speaking on your situation, Nicole, but by and large, it's like the rules are very, very skewed. There's a large gray area. At one point, my upbringing says I don't worry about that because that's how I'm raised. I'm texting, all that good stuff. But then it's like, it's getting complicated. As people push for equality, I question, do women of today want equality truly? Everything that goes with it? Or, is it like I want the 1940s treatment, but I want my own independence? And I don't want to, and some women get offended. You hold the door, they get offended. I mean, it's like we're over here 10 years late trying to figure out what's today like. And then you have all these generation, the Z's, the Y's, the baby boomers, and it's all this smorgasbord as we're all connected in the internet. So it's like all these different ideas and beliefs and backgrounds, and it's really crazy right now. So it's like going out to eat with someone is contentious a little bit. There is no assumption. Some are like, well, why you gotta reach for your wallet? I can do it, and it's not the point. But some people they're not raised like that anymore. Family dynamics and nuclear family is not the same anymore. It's really, really messed up right now. So but yeah, if a guy's like, can you pay and I'll get you back? Yeah, that's messed up. I got no defense for that.
I am really happy and grateful that I am not a man because I don't know how I would handle all these different rules. And you're right. I mean, if you hold the door, that shouldn't be an offensive thing. And I just wonder, why is it that equality now has to mean that chivalry has to die?
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I wondered that as well. Me too.
So
I enjoy being treated like a lady. I mean, we're different I say species for lack of better words, but we're different. There's man and there's woman, and I enjoy being treated like a woman.
But then I also wonder if there's a I don't know, shall we say a noisy few that's complicating it for the rest of us. Is that?
Oh yeah.
It's not a few, right? So
It's not a few.
No. So like, I mean, for me, my wife don't touch a door. You know, the door just don't have her fingerprints on it. So much, in fact, that she'll tell me when she's by herself with the kids, she'll forget, walk up to the passenger side and wait for the door to open by herself. The kids got to remind her daddy ain't here, right? She'll get on the elevator and just sit and wait. Like,
I did that today. I got in the elevator. I was on the 3rd floor trying to go to the 1st floor, and I got in like normal, and then the elevator opened on the 2nd floor, and when the guy got in, I realized that I hadn't pushed the button. So the only reason that it moved and opened was because he had pushed it.
He pressed too.
Yeah.
Because with having kids, I don't have to press the button because there's normally a kid with me that wants to press the button. So I just got in there and I was just in there. But I do that all the time. I'll sit there and I'm like, why is this elevator taking so long? I did push the button.
So doors get open. If I don't, I'm usually gonna make it to the door quick enough. If I don't, one of two things is gonna happen. My son gonna run over there and open the door. If my wife gets to the door and looks like she wants to open it, I'll ask her, "You trying to be single?"
Oh my God!
You trying to be single and all that? You trying to be single? Because single women gotta open their own doors. You know. Now, with that being said, right? So when you always open, I mean, that's just it's automatic, right? So when that's your MO, right? Well, then you find yourself always doing that for other people. Man, I have opened the door for women and been cussed out.
What?
Like,
Preach.
oh yeah,
Preach.
oh yeah. I'm like, okay. Here's a perfect example. I was over to a client spot, and her daughter was coming out, and her daughter had gave her daughter this box to carry out to the car. I said, "Hey, let me carry this box to the car." She says something about, well, it's 2019, we carry our own boxes. I said, just because you can't carry your own box don't mean, I can't carry it. And then she was like, I said, you being a woman don't preclude me from being a man. Right? I mean, that don't stop me from being a gentleman just because because she was like, well, I'm an independent woman. That doesn't stop me from being a gentleman. So, and then she says these words today. And literally, this wasn't even a conversation. She says, well, how do you know I even like guys?
What does that even matter?
Right. I'm like, I'm not trying to date you. I'm just about to carry this out to the car. Right. And I told her this. And I carried it out to the car, opened the door for her, put the stuff in. I said, look, don't ever get in the way of a man being a gentleman. Because if you ever do, it's not going to work out well for you. Right. Ooh, and so that's what I think the thing that's missing is that women lose in that deal.
I have a caveat.
When you have, go ahead.
I have a caveat. How well did the two of you know each other?
Oh, I didn't know her at all.
Okay. I get it. Okay. She was actually probably trying to protect herself. Because sadly, in certain circles, too oftentimes, a strange man will use, quote unquote, being a gentleman just as a Trojan horse opportunity to try to.
She was not threatened by me at all. I was in there doing business with her mom. Her mom's one of my clients. Literally the place is right. I mean, it's a storefront thing. She was not. You could tell when people are threatened by you and they really just don't want you to deal with them, right? That's a different. Men, we pick up on that. This was not the situation. She was basically letting me know she's independent. She can do her own stuff. She don't need any help. Just because you don't need help,
right,
doesn't mean I'm precluded from helping, right? There's a difference.
To me, that's programming. That is absolute programming of this environment that we're in. That's straight up programming.
Exactly.
And that is, yes,
it's not to their benefit. Right, yeah. You're gonna lose in that situation. You don't ever want a man to feel like. I remember when the song came out, that Independent, INDEP. I was like, this is a horrible song, because this guy is saying hey, yeah, I don't need to do nothing for you.
Yeah.
You buy your own car. You do everything for yourself. I don't need you. You don't need me for nothing, and I'm not going to do nothing. I'm just gonna stop by on Saturday night, do what I need to do, and keep moving. Well, that's not gonna work out well in the long run for women. Women losing it.
Agreed. Here.
I'll be right back. I hear a door slamming.
We don't do door slamming.
Uh-oh.
Push mute. And did. So yeah, that would be my only, like, the only thing I could see as a possible reason, you know, aside from being dumb, I'm gonna say it, dumb, that she would raise that kind of an argument is because, look, sir, I don't know you, I don't know what you're capable of. Bye.
Well, that's different.
And I got an arm full of boxes. Bye.
Right, and you know it's different when that's the case. I'm literally standing next to her mom. You know what I'm saying? And we know when women are just trying to protect themselves. We know. Mm-hmm. You know, this was not that, and I'm sure my man here can attest to the fact that it's not like it was 20 years ago. Like 20 years ago, I would never have a woman literally cut. I got cussed out one day for asking if a woman was okay. Okay. Now, okay, you've been over to the studio, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So there's a spot next to the studio, right? And this woman looks like she, you know, ain't all the way there, and she's having a hard time, and she's selling diapers by the singles. You know what I'm saying?
So what now?
She's selling diapers by the singles in the parking lot.
So who buying diapers by the singles?
And how desperate do you have to be like, hey, y'all want to buy 3 diapers? 3 diapers? What kind of? Okay. So something happened, and then she kind of get in the car. I'm like, hey, are you okay? She says to me, why are you asking me if I'm okay? And then literally goes off for about 3 minutes because I asked if you were okay. Like, are you serious? All right, well, I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you go now. I'm gonna holler back at you.
You don't want to buy a diaper.
Yeah, I guess I didn't want to buy a diaper. By the singles. She didn't even have a pack of diapers.
I'm confused. As a good
you want to buy 3 diapers. You know, it's like buying 1 rib. Really? You can't.
If I can say something, both of these examples that this gentleman brought up remind me of 2 very dangerous things that, especially men of color, are trying to sort out and figure out, and that is, I think a lot of this disrespect off cuff, even for people they're not threatened by, is a lot of them not being used to being protected or having a man to protect them. Yep. And there's this primal engagement of, you know, yes, it's toxic independence because there's toxic masculinity, and there's a lot of things that we
in response to toxic masculinity
that a lot of women are like, they don't know that's actually a healthy thing because the programming is very strong.
Not allowed to be anything but what they are.
They're trying to remove positive masculinity out the picture. They want that gone because you know it's like as part of that quote unquote equality push to me. That's what I see. And it's a lot of like, see, I was kind of getting nervous as he was talking because I'm like, if a woman, if you get the door or something and she didn't like that and she takes it a certain way, well, it's for him to defend himself. But first of all, her word will stand. Is he harassed me at the door? It can be just like that. And it takes nothing but the word. I'm kidding you not. It happens all the time. And then it's like, oh, I thought I was being helpful. No, you were harassing her. And you're in cuffs. You're in the back of the car, and good luck with that lawyer, because now you got to fight yourself away. You know, got to get yourself out. And as you know, as far as you ask if some person's okay, if they felt disrespected, there you go. And so there's a big conversation of, you know, are we as Black men protecting Black women? That's off cuff. No, you were not. Doesn't matter. Are we being protective? And it's like, a little bit, no. Because, you know, I protect that which I kind of have some reverence and respect of already. I can't just run in and assume a man and woman are fighting and I'm just going to be this Superman. And then she turns and like, you're harassing my boyfriend and you're in prison.
All day.
I mean, and
Wow.
it's really bad right now because it makes us skittish in every other area. And you know, some people say, why does the brothers stand around and recording with the phone? Because we're gonna get shot. Because we can we can at least have some evidence to help out later, but we are not jumping in. We got to think about this thing. We got to ask some questions. No, we can't cape in like we used to. That can't be an assumption because we might if we mistake it, that's our lives on the line for a stranger who has no respect for us anyway.
Right.
Who sees us the same anyway. So that's a frustrating conversation going on in a lot of circles right now, which is, you know, how do we protect? And they don't know protection. They don't know positive male role model. They don't know that. So again, you're dealing with all these generations and these environments that are completely foreign to what this gentleman's talking about, how he treats his wife, how I was married at one point, I treated my wife. That was just an assumption. That was a pat on the back for being masculine, normal, respectable man. Now it is completely shunned, almost. So that's all I got to say about that.
I was on the road to agreeing with what you had to say.
You don't have to. It's all perspective.
I was on the road to agreeing.
I can understand. Yeah. Sorry.
There is a couple of things. I could see toxic behavior from a woman being her new normal in response to, or being her programmed normal, if you will, in response to being brought up in a world view that she's not protected, and basically adopting, if you will, like you said, I think you said primal, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Primal responses to triggers, if you will. Because at the end of the day, who you gonna turn to when you all you got, right?
Right.
I also kind of take it, you don't know either way, and I get that as well. You don't know who you're dealing with either way. But there's a part of me that cries inside when I hear that, because I know that I'm not that person, right? Mm-hmm. And right. So I can't help but take the situation that happened in Deep Ellum recently. I can't help but wonder if that woman had lighter skin and lighter hair and lighter eyes, would it just be have been a recorded incident, or would somebody have intervened? Oh, because that was one guy. It was one guy. And so if I had been her, y'all know me, right? And y'all know that I'm a lady. And I would have been on doggone video and not assist. That hurts my heart. And that's all I got to say about that on the subject. Thank y'all for listening.
You know, there's two things I want to say about that. One is just I want to pose a challenge to my sisters. Go out, find some brothers that you know that are and have been in corporate America for a long period of time, and ask them, how many times have you been called into HR or something similar for something I remember I got called in one time because I shook somebody's hand. And the messed up thing is, in my mind, you know how you see somebody and you kind of just don't like them? Mm-hmm. That's how I was with this young lady in my mind. I'm like, I just didn't like her. And this was, I was probably 25, if that. And I thought, that's not a good way to think. I never even spoke to this person. How are you just not going to like them, right? So one day she was coming down the aisle. They was coming out of a meeting room. I was coming into a meeting room. I said, hey, how you doing? And I put my hand out, and she just looked at me. And I said, oh, you're not going to shake my hand? So she shook my hand and walked off. Later that day, I'm in the HR office, right? And so, and the frustrating thing is for people like me is that we don't mean anything by it, but we're next to the guy that's like patting you on the butt and doing everything else, and he's not going to HR, right? And then the other part is like you do get hit on and all that, because we always talk about, you know, men hitting on women in the workplace and all. Men get hit on all the time and can't say anything. What they gonna say? You gonna take that to HR, right? Same thing. Ask your friends how many times have something inappropriate. You know what? We don't even have to go to corporate America. Let's go to the stage. Okay. Okay. Lala. Think about we've been on stage
on the butt in the girls' restroom. That
let me tell you something. On the stage, I've been grabbed everywhere.
We're not talking about that. Okay, we're not talking about that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying we talk about that, but I've been grabbed everywhere. Everywhere. And that's technically the workplace. There ain't a spot I ain't been grabbed. It ain't. What I'm gonna do? I'm gonna say, you know what? I'm a victim. It's not gonna work for me, right? It's not gonna work for me. And it's okay, but we just don't talk about it. And did you hear black men?
I heard folks with records.
I heard us being marginalized within a margin. That means we are completely equal to a 0.05 or whatever percentage of the entire country's population. We're all, they treat us all the same. We all get the exact same, you know, as far as, it should go by demographics at some point, but it's like we're grouped with every one of those listings. So therefore, they're on equal footing as us, even though, you know, it might be, again,
they
call
it
black population.
Women, they do specify women, but they don't specify men.
Yeah, they specify women.
They specify women.
They start with black queer. Now, black queer is women. Okay. Then they say trans folk, disabled folk, undocumented folk, folks with records. Then they say women.
Black queer.
They don't say men. No, they say women on here.
Black queer is women.
They're talking about queer women. If you read their whole site, they're talking about women. But we affirm black queers.
Reference to gay men. I apologize.
Yeah, on here, they talk about women. If you go through, they didn't change that evidently.
He said, well, forget what you heard. It's on here. It's this.
I'm just telling you what they said, right? That's what we used to say. They didn't change it, right? But they specifically say undocumented folks with records, women. Now, when we think about folks being discriminated against in the black community, men is number one, right? I haven't seen a woman get shot by a cop just for nothing. I ain't seen that yet.
Just because you don't see it don't mean it's not there.
I'm not saying it don't happen.
They take the women away and do other things to them.
Yeah, now they might die in custody, mysteriously. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to, like, for example, me and my wife, we had a discussion coming up, you know, when we first got together. She was like, I never had an altercation with the cops. I'm like, I never not had one with the cops. No, well, every time they pulled me over, it was an altercation. They did nothing, right? So when we look at, even if we look throughout history, right, who was marginalized, right? Now, the women were victimized. They were raped and everything else, right? But who was hung, right? More often. Whose toes were sold, right? Who was beat more often, right? So when you look at it, men, and I'm not saying that women didn't suffer. I'm saying that, you know, men suffered too, a whole lot. They're not even on the list. Right? Black Lives Matter. Unless you're a black man, then it don't really matter as much.
In black activism history, black men are not just not listed first, but not listed. But you mean to tell me that the Black Panther Party that basically was run by black women did not ignore black women? You gonna tell me that? And
I'm not gonna say that at all.
Civil rights movement that was basically or kept in place intact and supported by women did not ignore women's problems.
I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say one way or another. I mean, so I remember, you know, I was the CIO for the National NAACP.
Like everybody,
there's a lot of stuff they did.
Women. And that black men ain't getting no love, and I beg to freaking differ.
You say what now?
I said, to me, it sounds like what's being said is that everybody's been championing black women all this time, and the black men get no love, and I beg to differ.
Oh, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that here's an organization called Black Lives Matter that said, oh, we're going to leave out black men.
Just one time.
What's the other big black movement in the country right now?
What I'm saying is this one time in black activism history that's happening is what I'm saying. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Well, okay, so let's go back to like, remember, I was a CIO for the National NAACP. So when you look back through all that documentation, a lot of that stuff was predicated. As a matter of fact, right? Let's take for example a very famous case that everybody thinks went one way, but it really didn't. Let's take Rosa Parks. Okay, everybody thinks Rosa Parks was this old lady that was so tired that just sat down and like, oh, I'm so tired, I don't want to move. Right? First of all, a couple things. Check the history. She was younger than us. You know what I'm saying? Number two, it wasn't just some old lady that was tired. Now, don't get me wrong. I love what she did. When I'm getting ready to tell you what she really did, I respect her even more.
Of course you do.
So, enable for them to be able to get a law overturned, they had to have a court case. And for them to have a court case, somebody has to go and break the law so they can have a court case that goes up to the Supreme Court and be able to break the law, right? Be able to change the law. So they need that. You can't just change it. They needed something to go before the Supreme Court. So what they did is they had a dude get on the bus, sit in the front, refuse to move, got his head whooped. Nobody cared. It was another black man getting whooped to death, even though they filmed it. It didn't make a difference, right? It didn't make a difference at all. So they said, okay, that ain't gonna work. Nobody cares about a black man getting his head whooped. We see that on the nightly news every day as entertainment. We buy his toes, so don't nobody care about that. So they said, okay, let's get a woman. Okay, Rosa Parks was the secretary for the NAACP. She volunteered to be the one that the whole case was going to be about. So it's not like she was just tired. That's how they have so much documentation on it. That was a setup, right? So when she goes to do that, and they go to try to make her move, and she doesn't move, well, now they put her off the bus. Now it looks like this little old lady, once again, check how old she was, younger than us, right? If not, she lived to be 120. You know what I'm saying? If she was old then, she made it to over 100 then.
Yeah.
So here's the situation. So here this old lady is minding her own business. They harassing her, throwing her off the bus. That's just messed up, the whole nine. And now they have not only the court case, but now you have your national story. Because once again, nobody cared about a black man getting his head whooped, but they did care about seeing an old black woman getting her head whooped. We care about that. Right now, once again, that's not taking anything from her. That's even more. If you know what's going to happen and you volunteer for that, I respect you even more, right? But my point is, women were part of that whole situation, right? The whole they were the backbone of it. Okay, it couldn't have happened without them, right? And believe it or not, was woven throughout. Now, when we look at the leaders of it, I agree because they get marginalized. You hear about Angela Davis, and you probably only hear about 2 or 3 more. There were a bunch of them, but because they didn't get shot and killed in the process, we didn't hear about them. We wouldn't know who Martin Luther King Jr. was if he hadn't got shot and killed in the process. There were people who did in Texas that didn't know who he was till he got killed, right? So, and that's messed up because they were part of the movement. They definitely was the backbone of the movement. The movement would not have happened, right, had it not been for those strong women that were holding it down. The Black Panther, when they had the food program, who was fixing the meals? Who was fixing the breakfast for these kids, right? Can't make it happen without them. Can't make it. And so I think that even if media tries to make it look like it's marginalized, when you open the can, when you look beyond the surface, it was never marginalized. Here, men ain't even mentioned. Matter of fact, there's never been a movement from a black perspective that says we want to minimize the black woman. I ain't seen that yet. This is saying let's minimize the black man.
I don't think it was openly stated. It's just that the issues that black women were facing in the 60s and before and since have just largely been ignored by the black community per se. Is what I'm saying. What? Like domestic violence, like you just mentioned earlier. I
agree.
Like sexual violence of girls and children for that matter. A lot of the stuff that directly affects us. Shut up, girl. Wait your turn. Wait, let us do this and we'll get back to you. Has been. I agree. In essence,
I'm not gonna argue.
That's what I'm saying. That's what
they asked me to come speak on it, and I didn't know a lot about it. And this is years ago, and so I had to start doing research. And when I looked at 66% of marriages had domestic violence. When I see a number that high,
when they actually were married.
Yeah, we're talking about marriage. We're not talking about boyfriend, marriage. So number one, when it's that high, I know it's higher because everything ain't reported, right? And then you start looking at statistics, and there was no difference, like Christian, Muslim, non-atheist, like income, there, black, white, Mexican, there was no difference. And so then it dawned on me that I'm going to be speaking. And then I started talking to people I knew, and all of them had a story. All of them, like heinous stories. And so then it dawned on me when I go speak in front of these people, it's enough people that I know for a fact, half of these folks are going to be perpetrators. It's all men. It's a bunch of men. And so I called them back and, hey, do y'all really want me to come speak about this? Because I ain't pulling no punches. They was like, that's why we called you. And so I had to come say all this stuff and get all these amens and this and that. And I had to turn it on them and say, look, over half of y'all are doing this right now.
What you saying?
If I go talk to half of y'all wives right now, you didn't put your hands on, right? And so, and then I had to go through why that is, where it comes from, the fact you don't even like your own self.
Displaced
right?
anger and resentment.
Yeah, you don't like you. You're not happy with, because then I start dealing with dudes that are doing this. You don't even like you. You're not where you want to be.
Right.
You're taking it out on her. That's the problem. She's a reflection of you, and you don't like the way you look. So you're trying to hit her because you can't hit yourself. Period. She is a reminder of your shortcomings. So, brother, first of all, here's how you place that anger properly, and here's where you put that energy, and it's not to hitting her upside the head, right? So, but I will submit to you, you are absolutely right, and I think the reason that you haven't heard it is that half of them are doing it, right? It's hard for them to get up and say how wrong it is, and you going home and if somebody have a conversation with your wife, you can have a conversation with my wife. I've been knowing my wife. I've been dating her and married for over 27 years. I ain't said nothing to her I got to take back.